And welcome back to Sullivan's Backstage Pass. I'm here with Sarah. Sarah, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, the first time I met you was when you had that concert with Nikki. And I remember when you first got on stage and you belted out that first note. And what a powerhouse of a voice you have. Like,
Wow.
at what point did you start singing in general?
Well, thank you for that. Um, yeah, music is air for me. I've been singing since before I can remember. I think I came out of the womb singing, and it's always been a part of my life, my family's. I can't think of a time that I wasn't making noise musically in some way. Yeah.
And then at what point did you start like messing around with instruments?
That's a good question too. I grew up in a family where everyone played and played guitar. I have a really rich musical family background. So I actually, from a very young age, I started taking piano lessons. I'm no good at piano now, terrible, but I learned the basic roots at a really young age, and then started exploring the violin. And around that time, kind of really found my voice in like a choir and group setting. And even now, I play a little bit. I pluck the guitar mainly in my living room, but I love to explore all the different instruments there are. But my voice is really what comes the most naturally.
And then in terms of like choir, do you remember like your first song you had to learn in choir?
Oh, that's such a good question. I think it was Somewhere Over the Rainbow. I think that's
Awesome. That's so epic.
I think
Yeah.
that's the first one that I played like a live show. I'm like, oh, this is probably like first grade. And I like I was it. I was hooked. I remember that. I remember the feeling of like, oh, this is cool. I want to do more of this. And I think it was Somewhere Over the Rainbow. And then maybe close second in that was music from the musical Annie. And Sun will come out tomorrow, and
Yeah.
so musical theater probably type of music initially.
And
Yeah.
do you remember like a certain point where you started to realize that you had a really good voice?
You know, my growing up, I wasn't around anyone who wasn't a fantastic musician. We can talk about it more, but I grew up with a whole living room of people playing guitar and singing folk music, and my dad is an amazing musician. My mom's a fantastic singer, and so not being good was never a thought. Like there was never an insecurity of that, but the feedback that I've gotten at playing even from a young age, young talent shows, and the response has definitely grown my confidence over the many years since.
And the reason I always ask that question is because sometimes you just already know that somebody has this a surprising talent that's going to carry through with them through the rest of their life. Like you can just tell because like if you have and you have that kind of tone in your voice where you could it carries across all genres. So with that in mind, why the blues?
Ooh,
What is it about the blues that you love so much?
that's such a good question. Um, you know, I love an array of different genres and musical styles. Um, when I first heard jazz, when I first started to delve into the world of jazz, which was in my teen years in high school, uh, it spoke to me so deeply. It just, something inside me clicked when I heard the voices of Carmen McRae and Ella Fitzgerald, Nina Simone, Sarah Vaughan. The female jazz voices that really spoke to me, and then the blues is a part of that world, part of the jazz and blues scene, and something just clicked in me. Something clicked even more than it ever before. I think it's the grit, it's the feeling behind the music. It's something that moves people, moves me to sing music that just comes from a different place. It's deep inside, and comes out, makes you feel something. Makes me feel something for sure. So I don't know why, but something in me clicked when I first started to delve down the road of jazz and blues at a young age.
And that's one of the things that I geek out over the blues too. It's one of those rare musical influence. So just because the blues has influenced so many other genres, and the fact that you can't sing the blues effectively without having the emotion attachment to the song. Regardless of the song, regardless of the mood, blues is one of those things where if you don't sing it with feeling, everybody knows. And that goes from the singer to the drummer to the guitarist to the passion is what leads that music. And that's the part that I love so much about it. So what is it like? Think about the live performance piece though, right? Because like, what is it that keeps you coming up for a live performance every time? What is it about playing in front of an audience that you enjoy?
Ooh, I love that. I was hoping we'd kind of dive into some of this because there's this connection when you're making music. There's a connection with your band and the other musicians that are on stage. And then there's a connection, there's this energetic conversation that happens between the people that are listening and the dancers, and this energy that's fueled between I feel it between myself and the audience and the musicians. And there's something, like after a show, some people will be like, oh, you have such a great voice. That's such amazing feedback. Love to hear that they love music. But there's also this other layer of feedback where someone will come up, it's like emotional sometimes, and like, you just spoke to me, like you hit me in the soul deep. I felt everything. And that's a different kind of validation of what I experience when I'm making music. If someone tells me that they felt the music deep in their soul, or it took them back to somewhere that it's almost unexplainable. It took me back to this feeling that does it for me. That gets my JoJo going. It does it for me. And I feel like blues lends itself to that kind of a connection and a pathway to express that stuff that's deep in there.
And I appreciate that, because one of the things that I also talk to musicians about, because to this day, I hear people in the audience who have that kind of a response to somebody's music, and then they go, I'm too uncomfortable to go up to this artist and tell them how I feel. So from an artist to people listening, what would you say to those people that are on the fence and they're like hesitant to come up and approach a musician after a performance to let them know how amazing it was?
Do it. Come let us know. Chances are that there's such a good opportunity to just be able to connect on another layer and validate one another's experience. I love to hear. I mean, the compliments are so nice, but when I know that someone really had an experience listening to the music, because I do every single time. And even for people who I'll usually go around and I'll usually try to talk to people in between sets or at the end of a show, especially sometimes you really connect in with certain people that are listening, and you know that they're listening, they're in it, and they are just holding on to every last note and word and sound. And like, I want to know how are you? How did you, what brought you out? And sometimes it's just a lover of music that stumbled. Sometimes someone sought out the band specifically. or they heard it was going to be a certain type of music that was played. So if they don't come talk to me, I'm probably going to go talk to them at some point. I'm going to come out and just validate each other's experience in music.
And that's a good thing that sort of leads into my next question a little bit, because obviously when you're playing in front of an audience and there's dancers, you can tell. What about some of the other aspects of the audience that lets you know that people are into you and into your music? If it's not just dancing, like what are the things you're looking for as you're looking at the audience to see or gauge how you're doing?
It's a not in like a black and white answer, right? Because everyone experiences things in a different way. I can tell when someone's been moved. I don't necessarily seek it out, and I close my eyes often, but I can tell when someone's moved, and sometimes there's an emotional reaction. Sometimes when people are just quietly sitting and really listening and taking the music in. Like when I go out to hear live music, I know some people are like, I just can't sit still. I have to move. When I hear good music, I have to move. For me, I tend to sit and really just listen. And so I notice when people are just sitting and really taking, there was just even the other night when we were playing, there was someone who was there by themselves, sitting, enjoyed a wonderful meal, and she was just taking the music in. I could tell that she was, and I did go talk to her in between sets at one point. But that to me, that's how I experience music when I listen. So I cue into that. I also cue into beautiful movement. When people are physically expressing their reaction to music, I know it's a whole conversation, and I can't dance like some of the incredible dancers that come out, or people that just are feeling it. So it's a whole nother way of experiencing the music that I notice.
Which I totally appreciate, because as somebody with a disability, I would love to get up and dance. Like I would love nothing more, but I don't have that ability. Mm-hmm. And so what I try to tell people, because I hear this in my community a lot, where they're afraid to come out to shows because they're afraid if they're not dancing, they're going to be like isolated, or like what I try to stress upon people, like, no, that's not the case. Like the beautiful part about the blues in particular is that we don't care who you are, what your ability is, what religion you are. We don't care. Come and dance with us. Come and sit and enjoy the music with us. There are no barriers to entry. And with local blues, like the cost to attend some of these just absolutely amazing shows is well within a budget. And so I always encourage people, you got to check her out, man. Because it's a good show. Because the other thing, too, that I love about your performances is it's never the same exact performance. It's always a little different. And that's the part that I appreciate the most. Was that something that was sort of intentional along the way, or did that sort of kind of happen organically?
That's so good to hear. I never want to do the same thing over and over again. Somewhat intentional, I think, just out of the nature of, like I don't necessarily write set lists. I kind of have an idea of what I want to do, but I'll throw stuff out on the cuff, or if, I love it when I love requests. I do love to get requests, and it's pretty often that we'll pull something off. But I like to vibe off the space and the room and the people that are listening, and I'll come in with an idea, but I like to kind of play off the room, and also it's an organic thing, right? Like what mood as I start and as we go through, what feels right to come right now, what feels right. Sometimes things are worked out, and sometimes there's a bit more of a plan in place, but it's like the organized, disorganized, organized, right? Kind of wing. I like to wing based on how it feels.
Yeah, because like you never know what the audience is going to give. And
Hmm.
it's one of those weird things that I love about music in general is that there's this almost symbiotic relationship with the musicians and the audience and how much you rely on each other for a successful performance. And one of the things that I appreciated about when I saw you on stage was just how well you communicate without communicating while you're playing. Is
Hmm.
that something that you picked up with over time, or was that something that just sort of came naturally in terms of like communicating with your band without saying a word?
Yeah. Man, I'm like have to think back to when I first started playing with bands, and kind of leading a band as the front person of I think there was a timidness originally, like when I first started, of wanting everyone to be able to express musically how they wanted to, and someone told me like at one point, and as I started playing with bigger and larger full size bands, like we need it. There's a lead. You got to have kind of a leader that we're looking to you for some direction, but there's this kind of in between area of that I think also where everyone has a voice musically that's in the band, and so um yeah, there's an unspoken conversation that happens musically, and sometimes it's felt. I'd say it's felt more than anything, and looking at each other and knowing like this is what's going to happen. For me, that has is developed into something that comes really naturally with players. It's especially if you've played with some of the same people for a long time or many shows, like what's going to happen. When my duo set, we speak without speaking so organically now. Um, it's like we'll go off into crazy versions of reimagined ideas of what we've been doing for a while, but reimagining each time we kind of play, and that's an organic thing that now comes naturally. Now it does, but I originally I think there was some insecurity maybe around finding my place without wanting to ever step on any, like wanting everyone to kind of have some say in the direction that we're going. And yeah, I don't know. Now I think it's comes pretty naturally. I don't think much on it.
And I think it was probably that moment where you trusted yourself to a certain
Mm.
extent to be the front person and give yourself permission to take that control because that's kind of a leap, right?
It's a huge leap, especially if that's not naturally, I'm kind of an empath naturally. I want everyone to have some space to think on things. So, yeah, it's a big leap. And it also comes with trusting the people that I make music with. I'm really lucky to make music with. We have just such a rich musical community in Portland. And you get to talk to all of them. Um, but there's so many incredible musicians who are so seasoned and have played with a range of different artists and musical styles, and so the more that I've dived all the way in, um the more comfortable and confident I've grown in some of that, yeah, in some of those moments and those communications.
Which kind of brings me to my next question, right? Because I love to get an artist's opinion on this.
Mm.
How important is it that you as a band get along and get together when you're performing or practicing?
How important is it that we get, man, I'd love to say like all we have to, but sometimes like I play a lot where I just bring people together and we're playing, and that might be the first time that combo's played together is in that moment, and there's this organic thing. Um, but I always play with people I like and respect, and there can be different personalities for sure. Like we're all weirdos.
Right?
We're all about as spicy as it gets. So there's a range of personalities for sure. But I like to get down with cool people, people that are accepting of everybody's unique stuff, and I Yeah, I think if there was a bad vibe, I just don't. I think it would organically work itself into a situation where I wasn't playing much with it. So that definitely is important, but it's a range, right? And it can happen on the drop of a hat, like in the time and space. Here we all are together, and it's like old friends just coming right back together. Like, oh, yeah, here we go. Let's ride this.
And the reason I sort of bring that up is because if we have young aspiring musicians who are listening to this podcast, which we do have a bunch, I want them to know how important it is to work on getting along with people. Because if you want a career in music, you want to suck up your ego and get along with the other musicians, because it impacts the music if you're not able to get along with people. And one of the things that I've learned along the way through what I've seen is that some people have amazing talent, but they get in the way of their own career because of some of the decisions they make. And so, like, if you're listening, just be kind, people. But anyway, I'm off my soapbox now. So one of the things I love to talk about, too, is the muse. Because I think the muse is like a living and breathing thing. And I always love talking to musicians about how they capture her when she visits. So when she visits you and you get ideas for new songs, how do you capture that? Do you like write stuff down? Do you have a recorder? Like, how do you capture the muse when she comes and visits?
Well, we love it when the muse visits, don't we?
Yes, we do.
Oops. Yeah, I'm a big voice, like voice memos. If something hits me, it's terrible though. I always get hit by ideas when I'm in the shower. It's so unfortunate when that hits, because like, oh man, I'm gonna reach my hand out to try and grab my phone and record this idea. But I'm a big voice memo recorder. I have hundreds and hundreds of just like ideas that I'll go back and listen to. And when I'm writing or brainstorming and something's hit us in the, like, you don't know when it's going to hit, right? Yes. And so I like to leave a recording going when I'm rehearsing. A lot of times I'll just leave and that way if something hits in the moment, it's like, ooh, caught it. I can go back and build on that. Usually it's little snippets of ideas, little small pieces that I can later on go back and re-listen to and kind of dive down and further develop the idea. Yeah, I'm a big voice recorder. Sometimes writing things out too, if something's just in my brain, but a lot of times there's a rhythm to something that I'm hearing or something that's hitting me, and so when I can record a voice memo or give myself an audio note of what's hitting me, then that's going to come back to me the strongest. I'm going to hear like, oh yeah, that was that rhythm thing I was hearing, or how these words play off of each other. And yeah, I'm a big voice recorder on my phone. Hundreds.
And then as the muse visits you, is it normally like a lyric first, or is it like a note, or like a progression? Like, how does it sort of start, or is it like a combo and you never know?
That's such a good question. I think it's always there's a combo. It's never the same every time. There's always but I think I'm hit most frequently with like a combination. Yeah, it's a combo of rhythm with lightly with words, but a lot of times it's mumbo jumbo that doesn't always make a ton of sense. But this melody and a rhythm that'll come together and like bits and pieces of words, like an idea, but not a developed concept. It doesn't come out clean. It's a messy process when an idea hits. But rhythm speaks to me. Rhythm and melody really speak to me. Words speak to me as well. But I think that little bits and pieces, and then I'll come back through to think out what is it that was trying to come out? What was it that was hitting me? And there's a process that comes into play with that. I'd love to write more originals. It's something we've actively been working on this last year. myself and my regular guitar player, who I just love to pieces, Dan Polidori. And that's the goal this year, is to start putting out some more original stuff, more original music, and really developing all the way these kind of partial ideas, these muse moments that we've had.
And I for one can't wait.
Oh,
Yeah, I really, I can't wait. I think it's going to be awesome. So speaking of like the live performance piece too, one of the things that I always love to ask artists is from an artist's perspective about venues. If you're going to a venue, what is one thing that a venue could help provide that would make your performance just that much better?
There's a few things.
Yeah, please.
We like easy access to load in and out. That's good. That's good to have a good in and out, way of getting ourselves to and from the stage. I like to have space on stage. I can work on small spaces, but it's nice to have room. So I told you I kick things over as I move, right? Whenever there's a quality sound system, and we just love that, and especially if there's a quality sound person that we know and trust, that's awesome, because that's less setup, and especially if I've worked with the sound person a few times and I know, oh, I'm in so and so's hands, like we're set. It's great sound tonight. Cool staff. We have a lot of really awesome venues locally and even just within the surrounding areas that we've played at. And it's cool when the staff's into the music, or like the bartenders are grooving, or the way, I love that. And I think there's a partnership with the venue. We don't just we bring in our people and our following, and it's a lot of moving pieces on the back end to promote a gig and a show, to come up with the poster or what have you, and the social sharing and ads if you're doing that, and video ads. But it's great when a venue has also some built-in patrons that come through and know, this is a place where there's good music. Every weekend I can come and there's going to be a good, quality band. So when venues have that built-in layer, that then we're keeping people there. We're working with also the people that are there to keep them there, keep them buying drinks, buying food, dancing, or sitting and listening. So that's huge, when there's a partnership, and also in the promotions, when it's a partnership with the venue that we're working together to promote a show. You're always going to have the best turnout with that kind of a partnership in place.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I try to stress upon venues too, right? Is because it's a win-win. Mm-hmm. Like anything you can do to support and enhance the quality of music at your venue is in turn going to enhance the quality and the turnout of the people who come to your venue. Mm-hmm. And so it's this very interesting relationship when I see certain venues that are not as friendly to artists, because it just gets in the way of the venue. And I guess the next piece that I would talk to about that sort of live performance piece, what goes into the strategy behind where people are on stage, musician-wise?
Well, the band size and what the actual makeup of the band is. I play with everything from like acoustic sets to a 16-piece, full horn line band. So the band size is huge, and how we're going to configure the band based on what instruments are a part of the show. And then also the stage size and also configuration, if it's a deep stage versus a long wide stage. There's also instruments that naturally want to be next to each other by the way that they work together. The bass and the drums want to be close to each other. I like to be close to the guitar usually, or somewhere in that vicinity. If there's backup singers, or how we're gonna, or a line of different front people, how we situate. So it changes based on project. It changes based on what sounds are going to be made on stage and also the space that you're playing on. And then of course I move all over the place. So as long as there's room for me to move around and not kick anything over, I do it closing my eyes sometimes. So, and we need a little bit of space for that, but and hands, it's all bets are off once the music starts going. So that's something I take into consideration. I don't want to knock anybody's instruments over. Right. So no parking saxes right too close, because I don't want to be responsible for knocking anything over. But well, whatever the groove is, it's going to happen. And how do we best achieve that? Who needs to be where for that to work itself out?
How about like the difference between like bands, right? So like you have like this huge like several piece band and then the acoustic set. Mm-hmm. How do you scale back the music without losing a bunch of stuff on an acoustic set? Because like that's one of the most challenging things, like when acoustic sets pull it off, mm-hmm. because they're like part percussion, part bass, part percussion. Like, so how do you determine which parts to bring in if it's an acoustic set?
That's a good question. I think of it's not the same sound as when there's an acoustic set. It's a more intimate, stripped down, raw, vulnerable sound and story that's on the forefront. It's a space that is a quieter space, and a lot of times with this room for the unspoken to be on display, and it's a feeling space. And with the bigger bands, it's also a feeling space, but there's a lot more fill across the board. So song selection, the kind of tunes that I'm playing with a 16-piece funk band are going to be quite a bit different than like a stripped down acoustic blues song and show. So song choice for sure. And we're not aiming at the same target each time. That the general target is feel something. Let this make you feel something, and for us too, right? No matter what I'm playing or who I'm playing with, I'm coming up for air. Like that's breathing. It's how I'm breathing. So it's kind of just the type of breath I'm taking and the type of breath that we're collectively taking as a group. Give or take.
I appreciate that. I really do. And then talk about the importance of like dynamics on stage. Like how important is to focus on volume for a live performance?
It's crucial.
I love it.
Dynamics create space for the feeling to come out, to be able to be felt and heard. It's like I love Janis Joplin. I do. And she had like one speed and one, and I love her. But it's like someone told me, like a guitar player told me one time, like if you're always in that mode, it's like you don't leave any space for people to want more, to want more. And so the dynamics they're huge, and Janis did have some dynamics, but she like one speed kind of often. So I find like, I'm like almost holding my microphone in, but there's like the microphone's a tool. It's an instrument it's an instrument kind of itself, and how close I get to my microphone, how far away I am, if I'm going to be really loud, but it's still going to pick up what, and it's huge. It makes a difference. And the band follows these things, and as a band, we create these dynamics as well. Like the keys takes a solo and strips it all the way down to just like a half time, and then builds it back up. And it takes you on this musical ride and journey. it's huge. It's part of the jam. It's part of the dig.
And one of the things too that I love about blues in particular is that every artist on stage has opportunities to shine. So thinking about your current band configuration, what do you love about playing with the people you're playing with now?
I'm going to go back to what you said earlier, like
Yeah.
be kind, right? Egos low, talent turned up to the max. And those are the people that I play with often, and I love to play with other people who are coming up for, like, music is air. It's a way of being, and from learning from one another, I get so many ideas from the people that I play music with, musically, like musical ideas within a moment in a song, ideas and directions of music for me to listen to that I may not have even thought of at different, like recommendations, like you need to go down this rabbit hole. And it's like, oh my God, well, how did I not know about this? I just started listening to Betty Davis. We're covering so Betty, and I hadn't really gone down that route. I'm like, oh my gosh, so good. And the band behind her, like Sly's band, amazing. But I don't know what I don't know. So I kind of got off track. I think that the question is the people you're playing with, but I love other people's tastes in music and kind of exploring, and yeah, and I just play music with some cool people. So I love the ideas they musically have. I like them as humans. I feel like that's the best. Those are my people. Like, they speak the language that I speak, and even without speaking, we're creating a whole conversation together. So, and we have a plethora of really incredible musicians in Portland. We really do. So,
Amazing musicians across the board. So if you take a look back at your life so far on stage, can you remember a time where you went through a concert and at the end of the concert you were like, I did everything right today. This was just, I'm geeking out. Like, I did that.
I feel some of that almost after every time I play music. It's like being on this ride and then coming off, and like, it's like I took a deep breath. I feel at peace after I get done playing music. Not to say it's ever like, oh, everything went perfect. I think a lot of musicians were all critical in some way of what we do, and more than that too is like constantly wanting to do more. Like, I could do the best show ever, and I will hear like opportunities of like, oh, we could have done this, or we could have done this. But what happens in the moment, man, is like just after it's said and done, there is just a release in my soul that I feel, and I think that's kind of some of that. Like, it's not that I'm a different person when I'm making music than when I'm not, but that is my highest, best version of myself in my mind, in the place that I feel the most comfortable. And so it's almost like, I use the expression a lot, you coming up for air, but it's like I came up for air and I kind of weighed right here, and then coming up for air the next time. So it's just every time I play, not to say there's not room for improvements and things to happen that can make things better. There always is. And I learn and grow every single time I play music. But I feel just awesome after I get done every time. It could be 2 people listening to the music, or it could be a huge crowd, a like stadium crowd. I always feel good afterwards. I always feel like I did it. We did it.
And I can appreciate that so much, right? Because we are our own worst critics. Like, we are so much harder than ourselves than we would ever be on anyone else. And it's one of those things where, like, as a musician, how do you combat that self-doubt, right? Do you like still get nervous before you get on stage?
I don't now, but I used to. I would get so nervous my hands would shake when I was younger. So I would just the physical. I didn't feel necessarily, but it would come out in physical ways. Um, time in, the more that you just throw yourself into the fire and do the thing, I don't get nervous at all anymore. I really look forward to making music and making noise. Um, but I've been playing for a long time now too. I always look forward to it. It's more of an anticipation, an excitement.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I'm fascinated by because it's one of those rare professions that even though it's work, it still fills your soul and fills your cup. And so even though you might be physically exhausted at the end of a performance because it takes a lot of energy, you still have this like amped up energy that you can't describe because you've just went through this miraculous experience, right? Because I really do believe music is a miracle. Like you
I love
get
that.
50 people in a place, everybody on stage is on the same wavelength for 3 minutes and some odd seconds. Everybody in the audience it's this weird symbiotic energy that you can't find anywhere else.
So true. It's so true. Yeah, it's like it is. It's magic. Would you say? You said
It's
it's
a miracle
a
on stage.
miracle on
Yeah.
stage. It is every
Every
single
time.
time. Yes,
Every
it
time.
is.
Yeah. Because like everybody's on different wavelengths.
Yeah.
You know, and like I always say on this podcast, sorry, I know I've repeated this ad nauseum, but not even identical twins have the same story in life. And so if you take into consideration that everybody is their own unique person, to get everybody on the same page at the same time within the same notes, it's freaking amazing.
Collective energy
Yeah.
space. It
Yeah.
is. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a groove. It's a ride. You're going through it together. Yeah,
And
we
then
love it.
something I'm always asking artists too is as you're performing, do you rely more on the bass or the drummer to help keep you time?
Both. We need both. We want the pocket. There's a pocket these two create together. A solid drummer keeps the train moving, and the bass player in the pocket creates that groove that you feel. So I'm leaning on both. I'm leaning on both. Yeah, I'm leaning on both. It's a partnership. We're all working together, but the pocket, the groove is the two.
And then in terms of like the pocket too, because one of the things with vocals and like harmonizing pieces too, and like how important is it to have the guitar within the same sort of key progression as the singer?
Yeah, well that's huge. I mean the melodic choices need to align. It's like a key that doesn't fit into the lock if not, right? And the keys too. Like the guitar has a space and a job, and the keys are filling in melodic and harmonically to add around that sound. And the choices that I'm making vocally, it has to all be. It's a train wreck if it doesn't align. It's a train wreck. But I love when there's harmonies too. Like I love to have other voices in the mix. Harmony's huge to me. I like it's fills a song, makes things interesting in a different way. So I love harmony. I love to sing harmony too. Love harmony.
Yeah, it's one of the things that I enjoy too in a lot of performances is when you can have those sort of breaks with like the harmonies because you can hit different sort of stratus. I don't know what the right word is, but you can hit different sort of note structures in a harmony sequence than you might not be able to without it.
It's like a roadmap, right? Like the
Yeah.
harmonies can all of a sudden take you in one space. And I love a breakdown with a strong vocal harmony section too. I grew up with like in barbershop music in the back. So we would drive over to Portland. My dad would have us, I have some sisters and all awesome singers. And our whole 3-hour car drive from Bend to Portland would be like learning these barbershop tags. We get out of the car, like, but we'd have them nailed in the overtones that are created when you really nail a harmony section. It's all, you hear notes that you're not singing that are just in the chord structure, crazy high and low end overtones. So I love harmony. I geek out to harmony.
And what was your sort of influence growing up? What sort of music did you listen to?
All of it. I grew up listening to a lot of what everyone else was kind of listening to, mainstream stuff, Jewel, Whitney Houston, Gin Blossoms. I grew up in kind of like listening to the 90s stuff, but also in my family, I have a really strong folk music background. My great grandpa wrote music for Woody Guthrie and played on some awesome stages with like Bob Dylan, and some Pete Seeger was a big part of. So I grew up with folk music being in the background of kind of all the family gatherings. And so I didn't really listen or like seek that music out, but it's ingrained into my soul, like folk music. And then I kind of, as I found my own direction and like the Whitney Houstons of the world, and I loved the run, the vocal runs she could do, and Mariah Carey, all these crazy vocal runs. And then jazz. And then I found jazz in my early high school years. And that was just a game changer, because it was this different layer of musicality and different layer of, outside of like a pop realm, but like this different layer of dynamics, and the idea of vocal scat sounds that bring instruments into play. Like I dove all the way in at that point. I was like, this is it. I majored in vocal jazz in college. Like that was it for me. That was what my major was going to be, a vocal jazz singer. That was it. And so a lot of different stuff. And my dad was like a rocker. So we'd have like Toto would always be playing, and, or like, and Zeppelin, or, I mean, just a really vast array. The Eagles, like every different When Hell Freezes Over album. It was like, I had a really diverse. I have a lot of different. I just feel like you throw a dart, and I've probably gone down that musical path in some way. I just love music. I love music, man.
I feel you on that one completely. Like, I am a firm believer that there's no such thing as bad music. It's just music you like or music you may not like. And I don't begrudge anybody who's putting out any kind of music, because like that's one of those passion projects in life, right? Because music is not an easy journey. Music is a difficult pathway to become a professional musician. And the sacrifices that you all have to make in order to make it are huge. And not a lot of people realize that, it's not like you just get up one day and you're Sarah Lodge, the leader of this band. No, you put a lot of work into it. You have years of experience, years of fight, years of grit. And that sort of turns on into the new music, because I do believe that music builds on memory. And like musical venues, they have a memory of music. And the more memory you have into the music, the more greater of a performance that it's going to be. And so as you sort of progress in your career and you're starting to sort of take off like you are, like, what is it that you tell yourself to keep grinding? Because a lot of musicians, they're coming up, right? And this is for the young musicians out there that are listening, because sometimes it's going to get hard. Sometimes you're going to be like, why am I doing this? So what would you say to the young people out there that are just getting started and just practicing to keep them going, because we need the next generation of musicians?
Oh, I love that. I love that you have a strong following of young music. Don't quit. That's what I'm going to tell you. Don't ever quit, even if it's learning a new instrument in my living room, like learning the guitar. And I say that learning the guitar, I'm not great, but I love it. It's a new challenge, right? Whenever anything's felt stagnant musically, I feel like there's always another pathway to keep exploring. So trying different kinds of music, going from one genre to, put your toes into as many different creative places as you want to and you can, because the more that I've done that over the years, tried different things, gotten outside of my what feels comfortable, and stepped outside of that and put myself out there. It's like you're never really going to regret putting yourself out there. It's scary, and it can be scary to try something different and like try a different combo, meet other new musicians. We have so many great musicians and so many like shows, but also jams and opportunities to do something that's unexpected musically. If you are always playing the same sets or the same songs in one project, like I love to get out to do a jam, or when we do rehearse to groove in that way, because it's like a ride that you're not exactly sure what's going to happen, And so for me, that'll kind of reinvigorate me in some ways, re-inspire me. Go hear some cool music that somebody that you've been wanting to see. I look up to so many musicians that we have here, and whenever I do have the opportunity to get out to hear music, it's like I'm inspired. I'm inspired by what other people are doing musically, and so in the rare moments that there's been stagnation, it's not often, music really does invigorate me. But just trying something different, trying something new, even if it's just on your own, right? Like pick up an instrument and see how it feels, or go out and hear someone that you love or have heard great things about, and let be on the other side of that energy conversation, because it fills the cup both ways.
And that kind of leads me back to kind of what you said in the beginning. Like, do you think that even though it was brief sort of interactions with violin and piano, I would imagine they still helped formulate your musical talent, right?
Oh, big. Yeah, I would think so too. Definitely. It made it easier to pick up some of the theory in college. Because vocalists a lot of times aren't always taught that, especially not self-taught vocalists. So, big time, hugely, to just understand. It's like I think of music as like a very right-brained experience for me. It's a very emotional, organic, vulnerable, right-brained type of experience. But in reality, music is like at the core of the actual structure. It's very mathematical and very like, theory is, it's very specific, and marrying those two ideas of music was really difficult for me, and it would have been made so much more difficult if I didn't have some of those initial few years, that my parents made us all take piano lessons for a few years, and some of the basic ideas of chord structures and scales, and also just the black and white music on paper, sight reading, sheet music, being able to pick up a chart and understand what I was reading. It's like learning to read in some way. And violin, I actually would love to pick the violin back up. Like, I love the violin. We have one at home that every once in a while we'll take out, and I don't sound as good as I used to, but I love the violin. Violin's it's a great instrument. I'd love to play more than just that too. I'd love to pick up more instruments. And the way that the theory works across all the different, it's a little different, like what you're reading, bass clef, if you're reading treble clef, if you're reading a melodic line versus like a chord chart or structure, it's different based on what you're playing. But the more exposure to that kind of stuff that I can feed myself, I think it's crucial. And I'm like, thanks, Mom and Dad,
Right?
for the piano lessons and making me practice. Nothing really stuck. A hand-eye coordination type thing isn't my jam, but what I learned did.
And that's one of the things I want to stress upon people too, right? Because there's no right journey into music. And if you pick up an instrument and it doesn't work out, try a different instrument, because you never know what instrument's going to call to you. And so if you pick up the guitar and you're like, I can't do this, try a bass, try a trumpet, try the drums. Just try, because like you'll find like something will call to you and work out. And so speaking of workout though, I'm curious about this, because as a singer, like how do you work out or make sure that you save your voice, right? Are there things that you do to make sure that you keep a healthy voice? Because it can be tough sometimes, I would imagine, with some of the notes you're hitting.
That's a great question. Well, using your voice as an instrument, using it with technique and using it properly is the first. It's crucial. It's crucial. Not straining your voice to get through a show, and just using your instrument properly it's crucial. It's like if a guitar player took his guitar and slammed it and banged it around on stage after every set, like you need a new guitar for the next show. So using my voice and like with the techniques that I've learned over the years that I've been singing, that's huge. And I'm so much better now than I was like in my 20s, in my early 30s, because I was not nice to my voice. Back then, you'd go out and smoke in between sets and come back out to sing, and just I did a lot of thrashing my voice in that way. I take care of my throat and my voice now. Like I don't smoke anymore. It's been a long time since, but that's huge. And tea is huge, hot liquid, and honey and those kinds of things. I'll sometimes use a vapor mister if I'm feeling like I have some congestion or some dryness that's coming on. So I use some little things like that if I feel like I need to like moisten up my vocal cords, or if I'm feeling dry. But really just using my instrument the right way. A lot of people will break up sets. Like sometimes we'll do 3-hour, 4-hour shows, and I'm pretty much singing the whole time, and sometimes that's a late night, and then the next morning there's another thing to go do. So using my voice proper using the techniques that I know, and that's huge. That's huge.
And so we've been at this for about an hour now.
All right.
And thinking about the where people can go to find your music or find where you're playing next.
I just want to say you are such a great interviewer. I had no idea what this was going to be like, and what a cool thing that you're building, and what a cool way to highlight different musicians.
Yeah.
And
I got a story behind that, if you don't mind.
Oh, please do.
Yeah, because like I was actually watching an interview recently, this has been 3 years ago now, where they had this Sia was on this show, and they had her on for 6 minutes. And they didn't ask a single question about the music. And I went into this journey because like my autistic like hyper focus, and I went into this journey of looking for interviews of musicians where they talk about the love of music and their musical ability. Yeah. And I didn't find any. And so because I didn't find any, like, well, then I got to create this. And it was actually Nikki Jones that inspired that, because I wasn't initially going to interview musicians, but a friend of my producer at the time was like, you got to interview Nikki. And after that interview, I was like, no, I need to interview more musicians because like I'm geeking out by some of the things that people don't normally talk about, but are so important to the success of music.
I love that. I feel like you're creating something cool, and you've had some amazing musicians, local musicians. I love Nikki; she's great. Yeah, what a cool thing that you're building, and really good questions.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
great questions. Yeah, so it's cool to be a part of this. What a fun! And if you're a young musician that's listening, like I loved what you said. Be kind, turn your ego off, keep always exploring different things musically. Those are so huge. Okay, and you can find my music online at saralodgemusic.com. And you can find different lineups of the projects that I'm working with and a schedule of when and where I am playing. And also on social media, Sarah Lodge Band, you can find Sarah Lodge Music page and various band pages as well.
And that's Sarah with an H, folks.
Always.
Yeah, always, right? Mhm. So let me zoom out here on this other camera real quick, and we will put a pin on this.
All right.
And I'll end the show the way I always end the show. Folks, be kind. We all live on the same planet. We breathe the same air, and this world would just be a little bit of a better place if we treated everybody with a little kindness and respect. Sarah,
cheers to
thank you
that.
so much.
Thank you, Sean.